my name is Laura. I started a campaign called #ItAffectsMe to give people a voice who have suffered with mental illness or who know someone who suffers with mental illness, to try and eradicate any fear that's around talking about mental illness and to be, I guess, a me too for people who maybe don't have someone to talk to or are too scared to speak out. I had an idea, and that is to get a post-it note, stick it on your noggin with the words #ItAffectsMe on it, take a selfie, and then share. Share. Let's do this.
The selfie is actually helping people who might have mental illness.
Laura Darrall started the It Affects Me campaign. She first posted, as you can see, a picture of herself with a post-it note slap bang in the middle of her forehead 8 days ago. Thousands of people have been sharing their own selfies and donating to charity.
Laura Darrall started the It Affects Me campaign by posting a picture of herself online with a post-it note on her forehead. Since then, her friends and thousands more have been sharing their own selfies.
This is a really good social media campaign. It was the brainchild of somebody called Laura Darrall. She posted this campaign. It's called #ItAffectsMe, and it's gone viral. 3 million people have already done this.
Throughout my life, I have had OCD and anxiety and panic attacks, and last year I guess it sort of snowballed, and I wasn't able to function properly and sort of, I guess, had a breakdown, and it was one of the hardest things that I've ever been through in my life because it affected so many people who I love. And when I finally came out the other side, after a lot of help from people, mainly my doctor and my counsellor and my family and friends, I just knew that I wanted to do something to turn what happened to me into something good. Since I started the campaign, what has amazed me and really humbled me is the bravery of people who have mental health and their ability to fight on, because when you are in the pits, it's really hard to fight on and to carry on for another day. And the amount of people who've contacted me and said, because of this and because of people now speaking out, I am fighting on and I'm not giving up. And I think what I've learned so much is that it affects anyone. You have no idea who it will affect. I have so many friends or people I know who've contacted me and said, I'm going through this, and you just go, why didn't you tell me? We could have helped each other, or you know, but of course people don't because they're nervous or scared. And but I think that's what I've learned mainly, is that it really doesn't matter who you are. I started #ItAffectsMe to begin a conversation about mental illness, and boy have we started that conversation, and I promise you that conversation will not stop. I am completely blown away by the response from the campaign. It's every step along the way, with every new selfie or new person joining, I have just been floored by it, because it just, I mean, I have been surprised and I haven't, because it just shows how important it is, and I always knew that it was important, and so yeah, I guess it has surprised me in one way and not surprise me at all in the other. But but I do every day feel so overwhelmed by it. I understand where the stigma comes from, because stigma and fear comes from lack of understanding and lack of knowledge about whatever the subject is. And so I understand people being scared to talk about it or to not know how to approach someone with mental illness, because if you are uneducated about it, then why would you know? But that's why it is so important for us to talk about it, so we can say to people, this is what it is like to experience this. This is how I would like you to talk to me, having experienced it. And so that we can educate people and get them. Even if you say to someone, I know you're struggling, I don't know how to talk about it, but I know I want you to feel you can talk about it to me. That's good enough, you know? I think if mental health had been on the curriculum 30 years ago, I think our society would look a whole lot different. I think we would be more honest with ourselves, more honest with other people. I think the government would be a lot more understanding about people's needs, because if it was formalised on the curriculum, you know, then the government would have to take action about it and go, okay, we're teaching them about this, that means it's a real problem. I mean, I could tell you, the government, it is a real problem, and they need to be doing a lot more, because a quarter of the country has mental illness, and there are just not the beds and there is not the services to give us help, and it's not good enough. I think we are so strong as a community, and people who don't know each other are talking to each other and are supporting each other within the Facebook group or the Twitter. And when I see that, it just makes me go, this is why we're doing it, because we're not getting the support from our government, so we have to look to it in ourselves. But if I could create a space where people could come and just be while they're recovering, that would be a dream come true. I have this blog where people are writing stories for #ItAffectsMe about their journeys, and the one that I published yesterday was a friend of mine called Nick, and he said, he was like, what you need to do when you are going through this is not give up hope, because it may take you 3 or 4 therapists or doctors to find one that suits you, but you need to stick with it, because there will be something that suits you and that will help. And I think that's the hardest thing to do, is not give up when you're trying to seek help, I think. Yeah. The arts, they play such an important part in recovery for mental health, because there's nothing logical about mental health or mental illness. There's nothing rational about it, and I think the arts allow you to be irrational, and for it to be celebrated that you're being irrational or illogical or thinking outside of the box, whether it's writing or music or acting or sport as well. You know, sport is, I think they're so healing, because it allows you to take yourself out of yourself and to create something, because I think so often it feels like our brains are destroying things when you have a mental illness, and I think to create something is a really important part of the recovery process. What I find really helpful is something called the worry tree, which is where you notice the thought or whatever the worry is, and then it's kind of a tick box. You go down and say, if you can do something about it, do it now, so you stop worrying about it. And if it's out of your control, let it go and distract your brain, because you can't control everything. I know when I was at my worst, I would listen to S Club 7 to try and perk me up, because when I was 15 that was my favourite band, and it would remind me of being a teenager and having no cares. And I think if music makes you feel things, and it makes you feel things that are real, and I think quite often what is so hard about having mental illness is that it makes you feel things which aren't real, which are chemically induced. And I remember so specifically crying when I was at my worst from OCD and depression, and it felt different to normal tears. There was a heat in my head and an aggression to what I was feeling, which wasn't me, and it felt not me. But then as I've come out of recovery and I'm now sort of, I guess, coming to terms with what happened, I'm grieving for it and crying because of what my illness caused. But they're real tears, and I think music makes you feel things that are real, and I think that is so important when you are in recovery or in the midst of mental illness. To feel something real is so important.
I go to loud places to search for someone.
I guess, like, if I was to speak to myself when I was at my worst, or to anyone who is suffering now, I would say it is temporary. Like, when you're at your worst, you feel like it will be like this forever, and it won't. It will pass, you will get better. It may come back, but if you seek help, then you can be armed for it, and you can know how to manage it. And, you know, I always say, if my OCD comes back, or if my anxiety or depression comes back, I will greet it like a friend, an old friend who I have nothing in common with anymore, and we say, okay, so you're here for a bit, and then I will send you on your way. And I think the main thing that I would say is be patient, because it's so cliche and so cheesy, but time heals. It really does. And I think when you're in the midst of mental illness, the hardest thing is to imagine a future, and the hardest thing is to be patient. But you can do that. I would say just talk, just keep talking, don't stop, in fact, and don't ever apologise for talking, because I think that's what we do so much, and it's not needed, because people want to help. People really want to help, and if you give them the chance, they will surprise you. So talk and don't stop. So I'm really snotty now. No, I'm all right.
Everything's fine. I like to put a smile upon my face, make you think that I'm okay, so you will go away. When really I can far from fine, but unable to say. I'm pretty certain.
I'm learning on the job with this. I have no idea what this campaign is capable of, but I know that it will do good.
No fear of being judged, no fear of being tainted with a stigma. lace brush. This is so messed up, my great life sucks. I'm contemplating suicide, but rather than I'm not, because I see no reason to be sinking in this rut. It makes it harder as I know that everything I've got is enough to make me happy, keep me safe and keep me loved. But I keep thinking like I have a pocket full of rocks, and because I see no reason, I feel like it's my fault. So it's time to ask me up, because I won't survive alone.